Boundaries are the backbone of transformation. Without them, every change you try to make will eventually collapse. You can set goals, do the inner work, even build new habits, but the first time someone pushes against your boundary, the whole thing falls apart if you don't hold the line. And that's the painful truth. Most people don't fail at transformation because they don't want it badly enough. They fail because they don't know how to enforce boundaries when it matters. Hi, I'm Marina Papa, founder of the AP Method, and if you're ready to do life, love, and success in a way that actually gets you results, then this video and this channel is for you, and you're going to love today's video. And before we dive in, let me ask you a quick favor. Everything starts with clarity. So make sure you download my free Discover Your Core Values workbook. The link is below. It's the foundation for all transformation. And if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel and get this message out to more people who also need it in their journey. Now let's talk about boundaries. Most people think boundaries are about saying no, but they're not. Boundaries are about saying yes to your transformation, your values, and your future self. Without boundaries, you'll always betray yourself to keep the peace, to avoid guilt, or to make someone else comfortable. And every time you do that, you reinforce the belief that your needs don't matter. Psychology research backs this up. According to self-determination theory, human beings need 3 things to thrive: autonomy, competence, and connection. Boundaries are how you protect autonomy. Without them, you're not choosing your life. You're letting other people choose it for you. And here's the science. Studies show that people who struggle with weak boundaries often have dysregulated nervous systems. Their vagus nerve doesn't signal safety properly, so they collapse into people-pleasing or explode in reactivity instead of holding steady. Polyvagal theory calls this the fawn response. Instead of fighting or fleeing, you appease. You abandon yourself to stay safe. But here's the truth. Abandoning yourself is never safe, because every time you do, you build resentment, exhaustion, and shame. And transformation cannot grow in resentment, exhaustion, or shame. So let's get real. Boundaries are not optional if you want to transform. They are the container that holds your growth. And yet, most people sabotage themselves here. Why? Well, there are 3 reasons. Number 1, guilt. You are probably conditioned to believe that saying no makes you selfish, unkind, or unloving, especially if you grew up in environments where love was conditional or where you had to earn approval by being good. So now, when you set a boundary, you feel guilty, as if protecting your peace is a crime. Number 2, fear of rejection. Your nervous system remembers that belonging was survival. And if enforcing a boundary risks conflict, your subconscious thinks it risks abandonment. That fear keeps you silent. And number 3, lack of practice. Boundaries are like muscles. If you've spent years overgiving, people-pleasing, or shrinking, your boundary muscle is weak. The first time you try to use it, it shakes. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're building strength. Now, here's something fascinating from neuroscience. MRI studies show that when people practice assertiveness, their brain's reward pathways light up. In one study, participants who learned to express needs calmly and firmly reported higher confidence, lower anxiety, and even improved relationships after just a few weeks. Their brains literally rewired around safety and self-expression. So, boundaries don't just protect you, they transform you at a neurological level. But here's what most people miss. A boundary is not a sentence you say once. A boundary is an identity you embody repeatedly until others believe you. And more importantly, until you believe yourself. Quantum physics even supports this. The observer effect tells us that reality changes depending on what is observed. When you observe yourself as someone who cannot hold a boundary, reality reinforces it. But the moment you begin to see yourself as someone who stands firm, your actions and energy shift, and people respond to that. So how do we actually build boundaries that stick? I want to give you 3 tools, and each comes with a journaling practice that will help you not only set boundaries, but embody them. Tool number 1, the identity anchor. Most people set boundaries reactively. I can't do this anymore, or please stop doing that. But the most powerful boundaries come from identity. This is who I am, and this is what I allow. When you anchor boundaries in identity, they become non-negotiable. You're not asking someone to respect you. You're declaring who you are. So here's how to practice. Write this journaling prompt. Who is my future self, and what boundaries does he or she hold effortlessly? What does he or she never explain, never justify, never negotiate? Write in detail, for example, my future self does not over-explain when she says no. She values her time, so she sets limits without guilt. She knows her worth, so she doesn't accept disrespect. Now choose one of those identity statements and practice it this week. Speak it out loud. Act as if it's already true. And to go even deeper, extend this into a 7-day journaling exercise. Each morning, write one line beginning with, I am someone who, and finish it with a boundary identity. For example, I am someone who doesn't reply instantly when I need time to think, or I am someone who leaves when someone disrespects me. At the end of the week, read them all back. Notice the identity forming. Here's the catch most people miss. Your boundaries don't start with others. They actually start with you. If you keep breaking promises to yourself, you won't have the energy to reinforce boundaries with anyone else. So, identity anchors start internally. Tool number 2, the boundary script. One reason boundaries failed is that we panic in the moment. Our nervous system goes into fight, flight, or fawn, and we either overreact or back down. That's why scripting is so powerful. Psychologists use a method called implementation intentions, the if-then planning. Research shows it triples the likelihood of follow-through. For example, if someone interrupts me at work, then I will say calmly, I'll finish my point, then I'll listen to you. Your journaling prompt, what are the top 3 situations where I collapse my boundaries? For each, write an if-then boundary loop. For example, if my friend pressures me to go out when I'm exhausted, then I will say, thanks for inviting me, but I'm resting tonight. Have fun. If my partner raises their voice, then I will say, I'll talk when we're both calm. I'm stepping away now. If my boss overloads me, then I will say, I can take this on if we move another deadline, which is the priority. To deepen this, rehearse these. Say them out loud, record yourself, imagine the scene in vivid detail, and then respond with your script. This is called mental rehearsal, and neuroscience shows it wires your brain as if you'd actually done it. And here's the really powerful part. Each time you practice a boundary script, you're rewiring your nervous system from collapse into regulation. You're teaching your body that it's safe to hold the line. And tool number 3, the guilt reframe. This one is huge because guilt is the number 1 reason people abandon their boundaries. But here's what most people never realize. Guilt is often just an outdated survival signal. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something new. Neuroscience research shows that guilt activates the same brain regions as physical pain, which is why it feels unbearable at first. But here's the good news. If you stay with it, your brain rewires. So each time you hold a boundary through guilt, the signal weakens. So here's the reframe. Instead of thinking, I feel guilty, I must be wrong, think, I feel guilty because I'm growing and I'm not used to this. Your journaling prompt, where in my life does guilt stop me from holding the line? What would my life look like if I chose growth over guilt? Then go deeper, create a guilt growth log. Each time you feel guilty, write, what was the situation? What boundary did I hold? How strong was the guilt? 1 to 10. What happened after? Do this for a month. At the end, you'll see your guilt decreasing and your confidence increasing. Now let's talk about some real life scenario. Let's ground this into some real examples. In the workplace, boundaries sound like, I can take this on, but another deadline has to move. Or, I'm not available after 6 p.m., let's schedule this tomorrow. Research from the Journal of Occupational Health shows that employees who set time boundaries experience 40% less burnout. In relationships, boundaries sound like, I'm not okay with being spoken to that way. I'll continue this conversation when we're both calm, or I love you, but I need time alone tonight. A study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that couples who respected each other's boundaries reported greater long-term satisfaction than those who didn't. In family dynamics, boundaries sound like, I know you want me at every gathering, but I'm choosing what feels balanced for me today. Or, I won't discuss this topic anymore. Family is often where guilt shows up the most, but remember, guilt is growth. And here's what most people miss. When you set a new boundary, the people around you are meeting the old version of you in their minds. It may take them time to adapt to the new you. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to stand firm until they realize that this version of you isn't negotiable. Now, boundaries are not about building walls. They're about building pathways, clear, healthy roads that show other people how to meet you and how to love you. Without boundaries, you'll always be at the mercy of other people's moods, demands, and projections. With boundaries, you create safety to transform, to heal, and to rise. And the research is clear. A study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with strong personal boundaries reported higher self-esteem, healthier relationships, and lower rates of burnout. Boundaries don't just protect your energy, they amplify it. But here's what most people miss. Boundaries will upset some people, and that's the test. If a boundary upsets someone who loves you, they'll adapt. If a boundary upsets someone who wants to control you, they'll resist. The reaction reveals the relationship. And your job is not to manage their reaction. Your job is to protect your transformation. And before we finish this, let me pause. If this message is speaking to you, please hit like and subscribe. It helps me grow the channel and share this work with more people who are also ready for transformation. So here's my closing few words. Transformation without boundaries is impossible, because every time you break your own boundary, you break your trust with yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of all change. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to explain. You don't need to convince anyone. You only need to stand in your truth and practice it until it becomes who you are. Boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. They are how you protect your future self, how you honor your values, and how you create a life you actually want to live. So download my free Discover Your Core Values workbook below. And if you're ready for deeper work, book a one-to-one call with me or join my program that's launching very soon. You are here to rise into sustainable transformation and step into a new identity. And that always begins when you stop abandoning yourself and start honoring your boundaries. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Bye for now.